I belong to DY Patil Krishna's group of institutes, DYKMS, which is situated in Akuri. So I am not a guest speaker in fact. So I am a person from the family itself. The topic which I will be speaking for next 10 days. Let me make it clear. For next 10 days I will be speaking on this topic, management in Bhagavad Gita. At the moment we hear about Bhagavad Gita, we always think that it is going to be something spiritual which is going to happen for next 10 days. Answer is no. So this is not a spiritual talk, this is not a spiritual book which I have written. The book, though it is written on Bhagavad Gita, the book speaks about the management principles which we teach to MBA students, which you will be learning in next 2 years to come. So it was a coincidence, I would say, or I would say it this way, that I could happen to discover that whatever principles we are teaching to you in your 2 years curriculum, you will be surprised to know, right, starting from fundamentals of management up till even analytics specialization, everything was discovered already there in Bhagavad Gita. And as we all know, probably that Bhagavad Gita was written somewhere 5,000 years before, and we always talk about Western philosophies, Western theories coming from most of the countries on the Western side, Europe side, maybe UK and all those places. And wherever something comes from Western side, that's where we think that it is always good. But then it has always been a wrong conception which we have, because it has been found that the people who are from those sides of the world, they come to India, they learn most of the things from our country, they take it back and they give the training to the entire world. And then we think that it is coming from Western world. But as I mentioned, to make it very simple, in next 10 days time, you will be learning the entire syllabus of your MBA 2 years curriculum. In 10 days time, I will be trying to cover, because it is found this is already available in Bhagavad Gita. So this is the cover page of my book, which I have got with me. On the back side, you will find there is only one sentence written. Do you think management is contemporary? Contemporary means which is happening in the most recent times, modern times. So do you think that management is modern? The answer is not, because all modern management concepts, principles, theories and philosophies were present 5,000 years before in Bhagavad Gita. So you will be surprised to know, exceptionally barring today, from tomorrow onwards I will be showing you some cartoons which will make you understand some concepts. That's the way I have written my book. Because when I wrote the entire book, that time I came to know that who's going to read this book. Because author is always concerned with the readability of the book. So I wrote it in this way, that whatever management principles I could find in verses of Bhagavad Gita, I have written it verse number, say 3.13, means 3rd chapter, 13th number of verse. What principle is found in that particular verse? Then what is the original meaning of that verse in just one paragraph. In another paragraph, explanation of that management concept. So when I wrote this, the question came to my mind, who will read this book? So I came up with an idea of putting cartoons related to those particular concepts in the book. So those I will be showing you, so that it will not be a boring speech for 1 hour. First of all, let me thank all of you for gathering in such a big number at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I hope this will continue for next 10 days. We'll be starting from today, Thursday and Friday. Then Saturday, Sunday there would be a lecture, and then maybe Monday to Friday again, and then remaining 2 days. That's how we'll be going for next 10 days. So let me continue. This is again a cover page of that book in a more vivid way, so that you are able to see it properly. This is available on Amazon there. Okay, so as we all know that Bhagavad Gita happens to be the holy literature for Hindus. Again, let me make it clear, I am not be talking anything about religion. I am not here to promote Bhagavad Gita. I am simply here to tell you that all the management principles, so I will be talking about management principles and not more of Bhagavad Gita, which are present in Bhagavad Gita. But this is certain thing, or these are certain things which we are expected to know, that Bhagavad Gita is known as world over as a holy literature for Hindus, as it is like Bible for Christians, maybe Quran for Islamis, Granth Sahib for Punjabi. So different religions, they do have some holy book for their entire religion. So this was proven to be composed between 5th and 4th centuries before Christ. That means about it comes to 5,000 years. So we need to know certain preamble. Most of the people who have seen at least the serial named as Mahabharata, which used to be there on Delhi Doordarshan some around 20 years before maybe, when only black and white televisions were there. 20, 25, 30 years before. So these are the pictures taken from the same characters of Mahabharata in that serial. And as I said, this Bhagavad Gita is from Mahabharata, which is an ancient mythological stories of India, mythological scriptures along with Ramayana, Vedas, etc. Where we know that there was a fight between two cousin families. And we know the names of those families as well. It is Kauravas and Pandavas. Again, these are the pictures which were the advertisements of that serial that time. So all these Kauravas and Pandavas which you could see in the picture are from the serial characters and actors, and not the real pictures of Arjuna and all the family members of Pandava, because it's not known how they used to look like. So whatever images are being projected to us through these serials, those we imagine that Arjuna should be looking like that, or Arun Govil was very famous for Rama's character. Similarly, then there was Mr. Trivedi who acted for Ravana. So when we imagine Rama, we are likely to imagine those actors and actresses. It has been proven that there is one actor in South India, M.G. Ramachandran. He has played Rama's role in most of the movies that time, South Indian movies, later on dubbed into Hindi movies. So if you go to South India, you will find M.G. Ramachandran's photograph in the place of Rama. And if you go to Sri Lanka, you will find Ravana's photographs are worshipped. Because it has been proven with reference to my specialist in human resource management that not every human being is bad in all the aspects. So even in a bad person also there are certain positive qualities. So Ravana also had got many positive qualities which probably you might have read in WhatsApp circulation, what positive things Ravana had. So similarly Duryodhana also had one. There are many positive characteristics in him. There is one serial which is going on a channel named as, I think Asta or some channel. The name of that serial is Dharmakshetra. So in that serial, all the positive points of all these negative characters have been mentioned. So it is always worth to find out the positive characteristics of a person, even if who is not a good person, according to our ideations or our thinking. So with reference to that, we were knowing from the serial or from Mahabharata or from overall whichever we have been hearing from our grandfathers and grandmothers that there were Kauravas and Pandavas, and Kauravas were evil people and Pandavas were comparatively quite pure people. So there was a fight for the kingdom between these two cousin families, and there was this Lord Arjuna, who is the chief warrior from Pandava family. Again, this is the photograph of that character from Mahabharata serial who played Arjuna's role. So when this Arjuna, who was the lead warrior brother from Pandavas, saw his own cousins, were Kauravas and many others, in front of him to fight with, he got a dilemma, he got miserable, and he was reluctant to fight and asking, how can I fight with my own cousins? And he got down from the chariot. This is a picture of Bhagavad Gita whenever we think of it. This is one photograph which comes in front of our eyes, and the second one was there in my introduction, where Lord Shri Krishna is driving that chariot and Arjuna is sitting with his bow and arrow in the chariot. This is that chariot. But then this is a situation, he has got down from the chariot, he is on his knees, and then he is asking, Lord Shri Krishna, how can I fight with my own cousin? And then he said, no, I won't be killing my own people, I won't be fighting with my own cousins and my own people. And then Lord Shri Krishna, who has taken the responsibility of being his chariot's chauffeur. Now from Mahabharata serial or from the epic Mahabharata, you might be knowing at least to some extent that Shri Krishna has taken an oath that during the entire time of fight or that war, he will not take any weapon in his hand. Yes. Right? So he has decided that he will only take the responsibility of being a chauffeur, means a driver of a chariot. Though he was a god, he advised and persuaded him, means Arjuna, to fight, telling him how his thinking was negative, how his thinking was futile, how his thinking was unnecessarily happening in his mind. And at then, the great literature born out of Lord Krishna's advice is Bhagavad Gita. Just to give you a certain idea about Bhagavad Gita, which is known to be spread over 700 shlokas, in English we can translate it to words. And it is spread over 18 adhyayas, which we call it chapters. So there are 18 chapters and 700 shlokas. Incidentally, I could come up with more than 500 plus principles of management in 700 shlokas, and I am reading shlok by shlok or verse by verse. And this entire Bhagavad Gita of 700 shloks was told to Arjuna in Sanskrit in just 45 minutes. The war went on for 18 days, and before the start of the war, Bhagavad Gita was told to Arjuna in 45 minutes. I was slightly stunned and surprised to know whether it is possible to say 700 verses in 45 minutes, but then it was possible. For a very simple reason that the people at that time used to talk Sanskrit as their language. Whatever we have been seeing as serials, those were all translated for our benefit in either Hindi or later on in some of the regional languages as well. Maybe Mahabharata, Ramayana might have been translated in at least 50-60 different languages, just to make the local people understand the meaning of that. So Bhagavad Gita basically was in Sanskrit, and the people at that time used to understand Sanskrit. So Arjuna was able to understand Sanskrit very frequently. As we speak to each other in English today, being management students, or maybe when you go out of this hall, you might speak with each other in Marathi or maybe local language. With that fluency, people at that time used to understand Sanskrit. So entire Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, and I tried, reading those verses. And it is possible that within 3.5 to 4 seconds you can cover one verse into 700. It goes to somewhere around 44 to 45 minutes. So it was possible to cover that all 700 verses within 45 minutes of time, and that is what we call as Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, the name itself will be telling you Gita is Geet. The word has come from Geet. Geet means a song, and Bhagavad is Bhagavan or a God. So Bhagavad Gita is God's song which is told to or which is sung for Arjuna to a greater extent. Okay, as I was telling you, originally Bhagavad Gita was written in or told in Sanskrit. It was not written initially. Maybe the people at that time, it was known that Bhagavad Gita was not only told by Shri Krishna to Arjuna. There were many other characters in Hindu mythology who told Bhagavad Gita from one person to another person. So basically all those were in Sanskrit. Later on, as I said, for the purpose of understanding of the people, it was translated as it is in different languages, but then from meaning perspective, the first translation happened, or it was done by Jagadguru Shankaracharya, who looked at Bhagavad Gita from the perspective of Jnana, and he could see that there is a lot of knowledge which has been given by Bhagavad Gita, and looked at Bhagavad Gita as the Jnana Yoga, means the book or the philosophy which is giving you a lot of knowledge. And he has translated Bhagavad Gita from Sanskrit to Sanskrit again, but from the perspective of Jnana Yoga. Then second thing which we all of us are expected to know, that Jnaneshwar Sant Jnaneshwar, who lived only for 16 years of his age, he translated Bhagavad Gita into Jnaneshwari. And Jnaneshwari is known to have 9,000 verses. And it is in the language called as Prakrit, which is slightly a combination of Sanskrit and Marathi. Because the people, when Jnaneshwara was there, people at that time used to understand Marathi better as our regional language. And Jnaneshwari is written very much in Maharashtra, in Ahmednagar district, in a place called as Nevasik, which is on Aurangabad road. And the people at that time used to understand Marathi. So he has written the entire Jnaneshwari in mainly Marathi, but then there were some Sanskrit words which were still prevailing in the society. So Jnaneshwari is written in a language called as Prakrit, as I said. But Jnaneshwara looked at Bhagavad Gita from the perspective of devotion. Devotion what Arjuna had towards Lord Shri Krishna, because Arjuna and all Pandavas were supposed to be the best disciples of Lord Shri Krishna. And when you are a disciple, you are supposed to follow whatever your Guru says. You don't have to question your Guru. That is what is the meaning of disciple. We don't call ourselves as disciples nowadays. We call ourselves as Vidyarthi. So you are interested in getting a knowledge, but then it is not a typical way or how it used to happen in olden days. If you can remember, in olden days, you might have heard there used to be something called as Guru Shishya Parampara. So the Shishya or the disciple used to go and stay at the Guru's home, and then used to do whatever Guru used to tell him. Forget about what has happened in mythology, because there are still kind of struggles going on or disputes going on whether Mahabharata and Ramayana really happened or not. Even if you don't believe on Ramayana and Mahabharata, but then we have got a book of Bhagavad Gita available, then somebody must have written. Forget about that. Let us talk about what has happened just in where we people are living in this era. We all know that there is very famous classical singer by the name Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. He is very much from Pune. All of you know that. Now he has learned all his classical music with the Guru Shishya Parampara. he went to Guru's home as Rama had gone to his Guru Sandipani's home. So likewise, Pandit Bhimchand Joshi had stayed his Guru's home for years. And whatever work Guru used to tell him is to do that, fetching the water from 5 kilometers and getting to his home. And then standing in a barrel of water, you might imagine how horrible it can be when there is 7 degrees centigrade temperature outside at 5 o'clock in the morning, or maybe before that. He was supposed to stand in a big barrel, steel barrel, metal barrel, which is filled up with the water for the whole night. The temperature of the water might be about to freeze. So he is supposed to stand in it and practice classical singing, because that is how the voice vibrates. And because, one more thing, Guru has told him to do so. Guru has taught only one raga, you might have heard. Then in Indian classical there are different ragas, there are more than 150 ragas. One of the famous ragas which you all know is Bhairavi. Then another famous is Yaman. So Yaman is rather the first fundamental raga which is taught to anybody who is trying to listen Indian or learn Indian classical. So that was the raga taught to him, to Pandit Bhimchand Joshi, and that raga was taught to him for 7 years. Only one raga for 7 years. And whenever you go to any classical class and ask, sir, हमको सीखना है गिटार, कितने दिन में आएगा? गाना सीखना है classical, कितने दिन में आएगा? So forget about days, in years also you cannot learn. Amitabh Bachchan still says I am learning in acting. At the age of his 78 years, no, not 70. How much? Yeah, he is almost reaching 80 now. 70, yeah, he must have reached 80. He still says I am still learning acting. So one of the greatest person in film industry, when he says I am still learning, how can you learn something in just some days or some months? So that is a very wrong notion which we have in our mind. So something to get, you have to really become a disciple, then only you learn. By sitting in the class, everybody is learning or not learning, that really is the question. Therefore, let me give you an example from our management field. If you go to any company, there is a department called as T&D. What is it called as? Training and Development Department. But now all those boards are replaced by L&D, Learning and Development. So training keeps on happening. The question is whether people are learning or not. So as it happens in all our colleges, in institutions, giving any education, graduation, post-graduation, there is teaching happening. But the question comes whether the learning is happening or not. Online, what is your experience? I don't know. But then I am really wondering whether people have learned really or not. We were teaching from our side, teaching to one student named as Kiran, and other people were sleeping on the other side. So we are not really understanding whether the people are learning or not. So a lot of importance nowadays is given to learning than training. Because every company has got a fixed budget of training, which I will be speaking whenever it comes to. And that budget is to be exhausted in that financial year, which is starting from 1st of April. So there is a budget which may be to the range of 15% of company's turnover allotted only for training. So if you are exhausting 15% of budget on the training, at the end of every financial year, that HR manager has to show to the account person that I have exhausted the budget. I means I have used this budget. But the question comes as a big question mark on training evaluation and training effectiveness, whether the training has really worked and helped the people. In typical finance terms, we call it as ROI. Return on investment. We have invested say 15 crore rupees on training, but then has it really come out with 150 crore rupees of outcome? That is really a question, and that has to be thought of. So instead of training and development, people are talking about now learning and development. So learning should happen, and training will always keep on happening because there is a training calendar assigned.